Exclusive images from Live Copter 3 of the state capitol as budget talks continue under the shadow of the protests that are happening right now in Southern California. As lawmakers and the governor have days left to negotiate the state spending plan. A major sticking point is the state's program that provides health insurance to undocumented people.
Because of the high cost of that program, some lawmakers are now publicly pushing a new tax on major corporations. KCRA 3's Capitol correspondent Ashley Zavala has an update on the talks.
Some Democrats today began shining a light on conversations we know have been happening behind closed doors. Those talks around a proposed push that would have a new tax hike on major corporations like Walmart and Amazon. Corporations lawmakers say are not providing health insurance to their lowest income workers. This comes as lawmakers and the governor negotiate new limits and some cuts to the state's Medi-Cal system, which provides health care to low-income Californians regardless of immigration status. One of the state senators who brought up this tax was Democrat Caroline Menjivar. Democratic leadership actually removed her from a smaller health-related budget committee yesterday because she was prepared to vote no on those limits and cuts. Here's what she and others in favor of this possible new tax had to say.
We're subsidizing a handful of corporations, we as taxpayers. So why is it so hard for us to look at that and not tax large corporations, but it's okay and acceptable to break a promise that we made to community members?
I think we need to begin to have tough conversations about holding some of these same billionaires and some of these same corporations accountable. We are not going to continue to be able to cut our way to a balanced budget. And anybody who thinks that is absurd. We need to have a conversation around revenues. And that includes us talking about the fact that you have large corporations that are actively ensuring that their employees are not working full-time so that they don't have to pay them benefits, so that they can then rely on our own Medi-Cal system.
We checked in with the Senate's Democratic and Republican leaders of the Budget Committee.
The idea of requiring those large employers to pick up the tab for their workers, which I personally think is fair and appropriate, and I think there are a number of members who support that. But that's a continuing conversation.
Okay.
I'd like to have them show us what corporations are actually doing that, and to what extent there is a cost to the state because employers are not providing any benefits at all. I have doubts that that's really as big an issue as they say.
Now, we've been checking in with Governor Gavin Newsom on this proposed tax hike, and we still have not heard anything from his office yet. Meanwhile, we should note there is nothing in writing, no bill, no proposed law to specifically get that tax hike in place just yet. Again, like you heard Senator Wiener say, all of that is in motion and being discussed, but nothing is set in stone. Meanwhile, the business community has said they expect this to be one of a series of proposed tax hikes that we could see within the next year. Reporting at the state capitol, Ashley Zavala, KCRA 3 News.
Lawmakers have until June 15th to pass their version of the state spending plan and how they plan to handle the state's health care spending situation. That typically is considered a placeholder while lawmakers and the governor negotiate the actual budget later in the month.